Welcome to retreat. We come together from who knows where, and we are going to head into who knows where together, head into the mystery. We're already facing the mystery right now. But there's something magical about retreat, something ineffable, where the mystery unpacks itself or unravels itself for us in a way that we're not in control of, we're not directing. We can't predict. And it's not necessarily here to give us something. And yet, somehow we always receive such gifts from retreat, from the experience of it. Often only in retrospect do we really see what that is, which is good. It's a blessing that we don't have to track what's going on at retreat or track what benefit we're receiving, because that really leaves us open, leaves us unguarded, leaves us in a place of total receptivity if we're willing to inhabit that. There is in my experience, there is a process. There is a pathless path that appears when the conditions are ripe for it. And a retreat is a perfect example of it. Although the same sort of journey, the same cycle of unbinding happens at other levels. The collective energy of retreat, the concentrated energy of retreat, is really, really an auspicious set of conditions for this journey to unfold. So while we are at, I suppose, a personal level or a subjective level, really just opening to this mystery that's unfolding right here all the time, being willing to be wide open, being willing to be vulnerable, being willing to be receptive, some sort of mysterious set of forces or conditions, in a sense, that's behind the scenes, really is leading us down this path, which is really wild. My Zen teacher once, in a Dokusan conversation, we were talking about how chaotic it can seem, the path or the journey we're talking about, this process of unbinding. It can seem chaotic, confusing, disorienting, very nonlinear at times. Often when it's really when it's really getting going is when it starts to feel the most unpredictable, often for someone. And he said, yeah, even though that's the case, this is all also just clockwork. It's just clockwork. And I have that instinct as well. I notice this a lot when I'm working with individuals going through various aspects of this unbinding process. And I really don't know why or how, but something in me knows how to respond or how to interact with them in that moment. It's just an instinctual sort of dance. And that does feel like clockwork. That does feel like a path that has been sort of laid out by our ancestors, by those who've come before us, which provides a tremendous gift of grace to us, that we can trust this. We can trust letting go into this mystery. We can trust being wide open. We can trust being vulnerable, because this path has been laid out, and it is laid out. So we don't have to control it. We don't have to understand the steps. We just have to be willing to face the truth of what is right in front of us. And what is right in front of you right now, if you look closely, if you feel deeply, if you notice the wide openness that you already are, you'll see that you can't name it. You can't grasp it. You can't avoid it. You can't find a delineation between it and whatever seems to be aware of it at all. No awareness standing apart, no aware one standing apart, no subject apart from an object. And this is just absorption. And this absorption can become very equanimous, profoundly peaceful, profoundly freeing. The work is being done, the unbinding continues at all levels, and you don't have to do a damn thing. Now, that won't always feel like that. There will be times when a tremendous amount of resistance will come up, repressed emotions in the form of mental storms, daydreaming, strong reactions to thoughts, strong reactions to emotions or sensations. These things will come up, and you'll be wondering where this equanimity that Angela was talking about is, this feeling of spontaneous, intimate flow, which is your birthright and is here at all times, and yet seems totally inaccessible. That's going to happen. It happens at retreat, and that's not a bad thing at all. All it's really doing, or all that's happening, is, call it your unconscious, doesn't really matter what you call it. It doesn't matter to call it anything, but something is bringing up this repressed material to practice with. And the practice is, as I mentioned before, openness, acceptance, willingness, vulnerability, and curiosity to investigate as directly, as simply, and as fully as we can in any moment. What is this? What is this? What is the sensation of one breath? What is the sensation of your feet on the ground or on the mat? What is the sensation of the tension in your face? What is the sensation of one thought? What is the sensation of confusion? What is the sensation of certainty? We can endlessly penetrate these appearances. And this is facing the mystery. This is being the mystery. So the enjoyment of practice comes when we are willing to surrender, be surrendered, be open, feel whatever there is to feel, not judge it. Know that sometimes it's going to be painful, sometimes there's going to be resistance, and trust in a way that we can't really fully understand that there is a path here. There is a process, and you're in good hands. But you're in good hands when you relinquish the grip with your own hands. Paul Hederman had a really cool thing he said to me once. He said, for me, this process is like when you go in for surgery, you have two jobs. Don't move and don't try to be the surgeon. This is a really good description of retreat practice. Don't move isn't necessarily a literal don't move. It's not a physical don't move. It's we start that way. We start by manufacturing stillness and manufacturing silence. But what it really means is don't move against reality. See that there's nothing that can move against reality. See that even resistance can't be resisted. When you see that resistance can't be resisted, then practice does itself. Practice practices itself. It's very simple. So if there's a challenge that I want to put out there for this retreat, it's really to find where that deep and profound mystery meet this this path, this pathless path, this process, this unbinding. And this actually isn't just a koan for you in this retreat or a challenge. It's a challenge of modern or contemporary spirituality, even contemporary online Dharma, because you'll see that there's a kind of school of there's no one to do anything, there's nothing to do, there's no reason to practice. If you practice, you're, the seeker, the me is just strengthening its own belief in itself, and it can't wake up from the illusion of itself, all that, which is not completely untrue. And you also see the other side of things where it's all about practice. It's all about tradition, doing it the right way, working hard, being goal-directed, knowing what you want, knowing where you're going, knowing the doctrine, having the right path, having the right teacher. That's also not completely wrong. So where do they meet? Where do they meet? That's what we're called to investigate, all of us, in the world right now, as a matter of fact. Where does tradition meet emptiness? What is fixation? What does it mean if I fixate in favor of tradition? What does it mean if I fixate in favor of being against tradition, anti-tradition? Why? What does it feel like to fixate? These aren't complex metaphysical problems. These are personal experiences. Fixation is a personal experience. So much confusion I see in the relative world now, with a contemporary situation playing out in our world, without getting too specific. What I see actually underneath it is not really lack of knowledge as much as it is something emotional. It's something that's being ignored. It's a fixation. It's fixation in individuals, and then that can become fixation in groups. So when you're investigating your own tendency to fixate, you're investigating a whole lot. You're investigating deeper truths about the way awakening occurs, deeper truths about the way spiritual groups form, deeper truths about the way you chose the group or think you chose the group you thought you chose, and then the next one, and then the next teacher, and then why you chose materialism, and why you chose Christianity, and why you chose atheism, and why you chose Buddhism, and why you chose Dzogchen, and why you chose Zen. Like, you're investigating all of this at the root. If you're investigating the tendency to fixate, the nature of fixation itself, you're investigating delusion on a mass scale that can happen. So we're coming into this retreat. Many people, myself included to some degree, have significant concerns about what's happening in the wider world, political world, and so forth. I've heard a lot of concerns, a lot of questions about that recently. So the reason I'm connecting this retreat to that, or this talk to that, is to say, don't worry about that. It's not your business here. If you want to know about that, if you want to know how that confusion happens, how that delusion happens, how mass confusion happens, how mass violence happens even, investigate your own tendency to fixate. What does it feel like to fixate? Why did you need to fixate when you were 3 years old, 7 years old, 9 years old, 12 years old, 15 years old, 18 years old, and on and on and on, right? layer after layer of identity built on top of one another, all with the experiential flavor of fixation. And it all has your own personal story to it, the tinge of your own personal reality. And it also has the accumulated collective tinge of human unconsciousness at a familial level, at a societal level, at a historical level. And you're able to go right to the root of that here, right now, and to go deep, deep, deep with it. That's so beautiful. This is why in the talk before the talk today, I was talking about the value of silence and retreat. And it's not just being quiet, and it's not just not talking that's valuable. It's valuable to actually look at, what am I using? What kind of coping mechanisms am I using to distract myself? To just slightly overlook something that's going on inside, a little sensation somewhere. How many years have I avoided that sensation? And then when I set those tendencies to distract, a lot of them to do with other people and so forth, set them on the shelf, and I just focus on my own practice or just presence or just this mystery, this openness. When I just notice that, then not only do I see what the coping mechanism was, I see what that coping mechanism was directing me away from. It's like an arrow, right? You're always looking at the tip of the arrow, or you're looking where the arrow is pointing. When you finally set the arrow down long enough, you can actually turn around and see, what is that arrow pointing from and why, right? And this will be easy. This isn't like complicated. It's the opposite of complicated, whatever that is. It's about being very, very simple. But to be simple, you have to be uncomfortable at first. Mystery, the mysterious is uncomfortable. The sublime is uncomfortable at first. And after a while, it's your best teacher. You'll be in reverence to it. You'll be in awe. You'll be prostrating in front of it. So if I were to suggest a prayer or a query to whatever, the universe, to Avalokitesvara, whatever you might pray to, it would be something like, show me what fixation feels like. Because when we're identified with it, we don't see it as such. It's just happening and controlling our behavior, perceptions, judgments, on and on and on. So what does fixation feel like to me? And that may look like fixation becoming uncomfortable. And that's good. It's good when that happens. It can be unsettling because we use fixation to hide. We use fixation to pacify. So when you can't do that anymore, it can be, like I said, unsettling, confusing, disorienting for a time. But it will reveal truths about yourself with crystal clarity. We've given enough time, patience, practice. I wish you all a fruitful retreat.